No, as long as
Welcome to the Prisoner2Painter Podcast, stories of inspiration, where we talk about mental health, addiction, religion, becoming a business owner and self-sufficient, for what, when, where, and why. Join us and we can be your local hope dealer.
Inspiration and dedication. I came a long way from sleeping in them cages. I got my life back. I feel amazing. Life's a book, don't get stuck on sad pages. Rainy days with no money. Hard work leads to days that are sunny. Looking back, it was all needed. The problems, the pain, the trauma, the grieving. You are now tuned in to the Prisoner to Painter. Prisoner to Painter. Hard work, dedication. Rainy days, inspiration. Prisoner to Painter.
And now, a word from your local hope dealer.
Welcome to the Prisoner2Painter Podcast. I'm Nathan McDermott.
and I am Katie McDermott.
And today joining us, oh man, I'm so excited, the author of Angelbluebook, Forrest.
Hello.
Man, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you all the way from California, correct?
Yes, sir. San Diego.
Awesome. Well, man, I after my hiccups getting this scheduled and after a long day, I'm excited to finally get to meet you. So
Me too, man. I'm glad we finally got it going. I think that we both have different ideas about time zones, and I think we were both wrong.
Man, I was confident you guys were ahead of me. I was confident I was wrong. So
I was wrong too.
Man, so so we start from childhood and we work to where you are now. If there's anything that you don't feel comfortable talking about, any question that you don't like, we can just move right along. There's meant to be no agenda, no method. Like, we are not here to hurt anybody. So
We strive to be trauma informed.
yes, sir. Yeah.
Understood.
So awesome. So our first question is, what is your earliest positive memory?
That's a good one.
Thank you.
I think my earliest positive memory, and I saw a photograph of myself, and it looked way different than the way I remember it. I was sitting on my motorcycle, and it was like a police motorcycle it was white, had sirens on it, and buttons, and it made sounds and noises. And then I looked at a photo of me sitting on my motorcycle, and it was just a bicycle. There was like a bicycle with a banana seat and 8 bars. And a child's imagination is incredible.
Yeah.
So I vividly remember having this really cool motorcycle that was just a bicycle.
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. Oh, geez. At what age did you realize your upbringing was different than other kids?
That I was different. Did you say that my brain was different, or that my upbringing?
That your
my brain
upbringing was different than other kids, like how you were raised.
Yeah.
I think I knew from as young as I can remember that I didn't think that I understood that other kids had 2 parents and didn't eat out of dumpsters and didn't get left places. I understood that from a very young age, and I always felt different and not good enough from as early on as I have memories.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one point at maybe 7 years old that I looked in the mirror and I just thought, man, you are just ugly and horrible, and I hate you. I remember that very clearly. So I didn't have a lot of positive experiences. Now, there were some. My mother told me that I was her joy baby, and she called it an Indian name, Silver Cloud, and she read me books, and she was very sweet and kind to me. when bad things weren't going on and when she was in a good place mentally.
Understood, man. That's yeah. Geez. And we always try to mix some light stuff in with it. One of our favorite questions is if you had one, what was your favorite cereal when you were growing up?
I didn't get cereal till I was 12.
Okay.
My mom used to make us like oatmeal porridge.
Okay.
And I really, really liked when I got into foster care, I had Lucky Charms. And I thought it was the most amazing thing I had ever tasted in my life.
Yeah.
I thought Lucky Charms were excellent. As a matter of fact, I picked up a box of Lucky Charms at the commissary today, and I'm most likely going to enjoy those this evening.
Yes, sir.
What was the hardest part being a child and navigating the foster care system?
It was difficult knowing that the holidays were the hardest part. The holidays were very difficult because there was never a time that it was more clear to me that I didn't belong than Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter. It was very clear to me that I was unwanted during those times.
Man.
If you could if you could go back into history to one day, couldn't change nothing, just to observe, what day would it be and why?
If I could go back in history and observe a day?
Yep.
Any day in history.
Yep, any day, any point in history, anything that resonates with you.
Yep. And then why would you choose that day?
These are very thoughtful questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, just move the chair.
No, you're good.
I mean, any day in history.
Yeah, any day.
I would probably go back in recent history and observe, because I think it might be a little bit confusing and very foreign to go back too far, because I wouldn't understand the language. Even like English has changed very much in the last few hundred years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel better on this side.
I think I'd want to go back to the day that we landed on the moon.
What was that?
That we landed on the moon.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I think people were probably very happy and excited.
Yeah.
About that. And I would imagine that it was a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's people that dispute whether or not we landed on the moon. I
Yeah.
choose to believe that the moon's real and that birds are real and that there was a lunar landing. And not to offend anybody's sensitivities here.
Yeah. Man.
That's me. I'm some people. So did you have any like unsung or quiet heroes growing up that were kind of like a beacon to you at any point?
Yes, I did. Michael Knight was one of my heroes. I was allowed to watch Knight Rider as a small child. I thought Superman was awesome. And in real life, when I was 12, I was in a group home and I went to the record store. And I got a Megadeth tape It was so far so good, so what, and it just looked angry to me. And I was very happy about getting like something that looked like I felt and hopefully sounded like I felt. Because back then you didn't get to listen to music before you purchased it.
Right.
And I had a little bit of money and I bought this tape, and the guy at the counter had long hair. He told me the tape selection was cool, and I listened to the tape, and yes, it was angry and it was what I was looking for. And then that same guy came to my foster home to collect a drug debt on behalf of a large criminal organization from my foster mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my foster mom had burned somebody in that organization. That person had gone to prison, so my foster mom didn't think that she had to pay this person. Mm-hmm. And he came to inform her that yes, she did have to pay, and there were repercussions if she didn't. And when he saw me, I was playing a cheap electric guitar that I had, and he said, "Oh, hey man, you like to play guitar, huh?" And I didn't know how to play. And he said, "Well, I'm coming back next week." Now, I didn't find this out until way later that he was collecting a drug debt. I just knew he was over there. And he said, "I'm coming back next week. I'm going to bring my guitar with me. Do you want a lesson?" And I said, "Yeah, I want a guitar lesson." And that man showed up every week, even after the drug debt was paid, to teach me guitar. And during that time, he told me that I just didn't look like I belonged there. That's what he said to me. I didn't look like I belonged in that home. And he mentored me through many adversities in my early life. And I'm forever grateful to that man for his goodness.
I really enjoyed hearing. I like I said, I've watched a lot of your videos. I really enjoyed. Out of all the bad, there are some good, mixed in there, and that was one of the nice stories that I liked hearing. What did you use as an escape mechanism throughout those harder years?
Well, when I was younger, I used self-harm. I would wrap a chain very tightly around my finger. I wrapped the chain around until my skin was white. And then we used to call them toilet chains. I don't know why we called them that, but there were these little chains made up of little balls. Mm-hmm. And they're the kind that you would find on like a cheap keychain.
Yeah.
And back in the day, it was cool if you collected those and had more and more of them around your wrist. Mm-hmm. And I started cutting, and I used drugs and alcohol as much as I could. Yeah. I loved to read. I started reading Stephen King books and Dean Koontz books. I loved music. My foster home had a hall closet, which I guess is unusual in modern houses, but this was like a house that was probably built in the 50s or 60s. And in that closet, there was some stereo equipment that my foster dad had. He was into stereo equipment and speakers, and he had speakers all throughout the house, but there was this really cool set of studio headphones and a bunch of music in there, and it was just enough space for a small, trembling, terrified, disassociated boy to sit down, pull the door shut, and listen to music in the dark. And that's where I discovered Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon, mm-hmm. Def Leppard, Hysteria, Metallica, all of these great bands. Yeah. And I spent a lot of time in that closet with the door shut just listening to music. I love to draw. Okay. And I liked movies. I was not allowed to watch movies until I entered foster care, and I got really into 80s horror movies. Mm-hmm. I thought they were terrific. Yeah. Night of the Demons and Christine and Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Nice. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you maintain a self of identity when everything around you is so chaotic?
I didn't. I didn't have any sense of identity. I was a chameleon. I acted like other people acted. And just wanted to blend. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I thought, well, maybe I should act this way and talk this way like these people around me, so that I could just, because that's what you're supposed to do, I guess. I didn't have a strong sense of self from early on, although I did have still a sense of injustice, a sense of fear, a sense of rage, that things that were happening were not fair, were not right, and I was angry.
What is a misconception that people have about foster children that you wanted to like kind of clarify on?
There's a few.
I knew it.
Recently, somebody posted a comment on one of my videos on social media that foster children are inherently untruthful, that they tend to lie about everything, foster youth and former foster youth. And said a study showed, when I looked for the study, there was no such study. There was evidence that, like all children, some will be untruthful to avoid punishment or to avoid being further traumatized or to gain something, but not significantly more than any other group of children. And there's also an unspoken assumption that foster children are not deserving of a normal childhood. And we're getting better culturally at rectifying that. But if we raise America's forgotten sons and daughters, if we raise them in poverty, isolation, institutionalization, and punitive coercion, they're going to grow up to be in poverty, isolated, institutionalized, untrusting of authority figures. And I'm so grateful that these conversations are happening today. I'm grateful that the internet gives us the ability to communicate the way that we do, so we can have these kinds of discussions.
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, sir. And for anybody who's just tuning in, we were having kind of a sound difficulty, but this is Forrest Lang, the author of AngelBluebook. Was there anybody influential in your life growing up? Did you have a mentor of any kind?
Well, I did. I had my friend who taught me guitar, and then there was another guy named Dave who used to buy weed from my foster mom. The early part of my life was pretty sad, though, man. Like, Dave, when I was in 9th grade, died of an aneurysm suddenly. And that went away. I had some buddies. One of my friends, when I was homeless, started taking me jogging. I got into a band with some older fellas, and they were good. They were good people, and they wanted to do good things and be good guys.
Gotcha.
And so, there were positive people around me, but not consistently over time. I didn't find consistent positive mentorship until later in life, when I chose to seek it out. I had a social worker who was really cool. He came to see me even when he didn't have to. He bought me Carl's Jr. when I was living on the street. But he suspected that there were things going on. And when I said to the social worker, "Can I tell you anything?" He said, "Yeah, you can tell me anything." And I said, "Well, are you going to tell someone else?" And he said, "No, unless it involves sexual abuse or physical abuse, or somebody's going to get hurt." And so I was like, "Oh, cool, I can tell you anything but what I really want to tell you." So, no. No, I didn't.
Okay. Yes, sir. When did addiction first become a coping mechanism or a coping skill?
Pretty early on.
Okay.
By the time I was 16, I knew that I was addicted to alcohol. And I didn't care. I knew that I was crossing a threshold by the amount and frequency that I was taking in alcohol, that I was crossing a point of no return, and I didn't care. And I never really got addicted to any hard drugs.
Okay.
Back then, opiates were a pretty big taboo for us Gen Xers. I tried drugs, but I never felt like I needed cocaine or I needed crystal meth or I didn't even do any opiates. Me and my friends were afraid of that particular drug because we saw what it did to older folks that were doing heroin.
Yeah. How did you find when you found yourself homeless, how do you find food, shelter, stuff of that nature? Couch surfing, yeah.
So when I was 16, my foster mom told me that it was time to go for a drive. I didn't want to do the stuff she wanted to do with me anymore. And I grew into a man-ish size. I only weighed 105 pounds because she was denying food and shelter and other basic needs. So the times that she wouldn't let me come in the house, I slept outside. Or I walked to a friend's house and they let me stay. During that drive, she started to drive really fast. She told me that we were going to go commit suicide together by driving off the cliff at Point Magoo Rock. Now, this is probably an 8-minute drive away. So she told me a little bit early. And I was able to put my foot onto the brake. The minivan spun out. It was a Plymouth Voyager, so there was no center console that was blocking my foot from getting to that brake pedal. Mm-hmm. The car spun out. She was biting me and scratching me and hitting me and screaming at me. When the car stopped, I managed to put the car into park. And I took the keys, turned the car off. I threw the keys out into the strawberry field and I took off. And I ran into a neighborhood and sat down and caught my breath. I walked back to my foster home. It took a couple hours to get there. I hid a couple houses away, waited for no cars to be there, went inside, packed a duffel bag with an extra pair of pants. I put on my boots, I put shirt, socks, underwear in that duffel bag, and I stepped over and out of that foster home for the last time. Awesome. And that night, I walked to where a supermarket and a Jack in the Box was, and I found a bench. I was exhausted, and I slept on that bench that night. Go ahead.
So who was the first person to call you out in your addiction in a helpful way?
I was 20 years old, and I had gotten into a little scuffle with a police officer near Tijuana, and the shore patrol brought me back to base, and I was in trouble, and I had to go see a counselor, a therapist. Mm-hmm. And I was in that therapist's office, I don't know how many times. I had to see her every week, and she started asking me about my drinking. And I said, well, I drink, but I don't have a problem with it. I just like to drink. It's just a thing that people my age do. And was explaining to her how I felt that I wasn't alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And she picked up a folder and smacked it down on the desk in front of me. And this is to me, she looked ancient. She probably looks young to me today. frizzy hair, was very busy therapist, and she said, "Don't you bullshit me, Forrest." And I was like, it was the first time she had raised her voice to me during these talks, and she told me that I exhibited all the signs of an alcoholic and that I needed help. And I heard her because it was loud.
You know, Forrest, I almost feel like I've been doing a disservice by just reading off of my notes. So I apologize, but I do want to circle back to a couple things, and then I'm going to go right back in order. Why and what age were you when you first initially got taken from your birth parents?
I was 12.
Okay.
And I started running away from home at 12 years old because this pedophile let me run away and go to her house and hang out with her kids, and all the kids were always there. And there was movies and sodas and snacks, and I kept running away to go over there. And then I shared with that pedophile that I experienced physical and emotional abuse, abandonment, and neglect. And she called Child Protective Services. And I went to go see a therapist with my mother. And the therapist asked me if anybody was hurting me. And my mother said, no, nobody hurts him. This is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't very verbal at the time. I didn't feel confident to speak. Mm-hmm. And I started ripping up the plant next to my chair. Okay. And I didn't say somebody's hurting me, but I just started ripping the plant and throwing it and just making sounds. And the next time I saw I didn't see my mom again. Mm-hmm. We both stepped out of the room. We were separated. I went to a different office, and then I went to an emergency placement, and I went to go back to see the therapist a couple days later, and I'm sitting there in her office and just terrified. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Honey, if you want to, you can rip up all the plants that you want. Is anybody hurting you?" And I said, "Gotcha." And then she asked me what things, and I nodded yes or no. I was not very verbal at the time. Mm-hmm. A lot of your story also talks about some bad things during the foster care system before you are eventually homeless at 16. You know, clearly people can read your book, and you know we'll share that on our page here. But I guess my question is, could you walk us through just one day of what it was like for you before we move? You know, before we keep going on.
In the system.
Yeah, in the system. Yeah.
Well, one day I was walking home from school, mm-hmm. and a lady that bought cocaine from my temporary foster mom had told the authorities that she saw my foster mom doing bad stuff, and that my foster mom was a cocaine dealer, and that she had dealt cocaine to a pregnant lady, and she was not a good person and shouldn't be a foster parent. Yeah. Now, I didn't know this. I know this because I got 4 boxes of records finally from Child Services during writing my book. That's how I put a lot of it together, was from going through those records, which was very difficult. And I was walking home from my junior high, which was like a 4-block walk, mm-hmm. and a car pulled up, a big brown car, like a 70s car, and this guy got out and he said, "Hey, Forrest, I'm your new social worker." And I recognized him, but he wasn't my social worker before. He goes, "Get in the car." Okay. And I got in the car, and he was weird, dude. He was like driving with his foot up on the dash, and this big car like this is driving, and he goes, "You're not going to see your mom again. You're not going to see your foster mom again. And you're not going to see anybody you ever know again, ever." And we're driving, and I'm just like, I don't know where the fuck we're going.
Yeah.
And we got on the 101. We drove up to Fillmore. We pulled in the driveway of this house, and he reached in the back, and he pulled out a plastic bag with my clothes in it and my horse statue, my few items. And he handed me the bag, and we walked into this house, and there was some lady there that was my new foster mom, and she tells one of the other kids to show him his room. I go upstairs. I see to my right their kids. The kid goes, "Oh yeah, that's their kids." And they have their own room and like nice clothes, and they look good, like, put together. And then we walk into our room, mm-hmm. and there's 2 sets of bunk beds, and 3 other kids living in there, and no doorknob on the door, and ratty clothes, and everybody, they were not nice. I didn't feel like they were nice. Maybe they were. Maybe I'm remembering it differently because I was terrified and my heart was thumping out of my chest. And I didn't want to stay there. And one of her friends was over there with his son, and he thought I was cool, and I was just terrified.
Yeah.
And this boy goes, "Mom, can you stay with us tonight?" And they said, "Well, yeah, sure. Maybe it'll be easier for you." But, and I was like a little rocker dude. I had like a cross earring and chains and rings. And the mom said, "Well, you can stay with us, but we're a religious household, so you have to take off the earrings and wear a different shirt and take the rings off if you want to stay here." So I complied and did that stuff and changed into a shirt they gave me that didn't have a skull on it. And I went to that house. I was to sleep on the couch. I couldn't sleep. I got up and wandered around the house a little bit, and I was just very anxious. I got a couple hours of sleep that night. The next morning, they drove me to a different junior high school in Fillmore, California. I got my schedule from the desk, and it was about to be first period, and I started walking down the hall, and I kept walking down the hall until I came to a field, and then I came to a fence, and I went up over the fence, and I kept walking, and I went till I found a payphone, and I called that evil pedophile because I wanted a cigarette, because she gave me cigarettes, and I wanted to feel somewhere familiar, like somebody was going to be nice to me. And she sent somebody to come pick me up and then hid me out at this couple's house, Lisa and Chris. That's the way my life was.
Understood.
And
yeah, man, that's rough. And
I actually just watched the video that you did talking about how she would give you the perfect amount of cigarettes to go do something. Is that did that start?
that started
immediately.
Immediately when I met her. Immediately, "Do you want a cigarette? Here, this is how you smoke a cigarette. And here, it's 2:00. Let's have another cigarette." And she would smoke them with me. So I was used to having a cigarette every hour. And it doesn't take very long to get addicted to nicotine.
No.
So, hey, you're going to the store, and then you're going to go over to the football game. So here's 4 cigarettes because you're going to be gone for 4 hours. Yeah. And one day when I was 13 or so, I was listening to 9 Inch Nails in my Walkman, and I got really brave, and I went in the store. And back then, you could do this. You could tell them, "Hey, these cigarettes are from my mom."
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I said, "Hey, I got to get a pack of Marlboro Reds for my mom." And they were like, and I was really proud of myself because she didn't have to give me cigarettes, and I wasn't mooching off her. And I didn't understand why she got so fucking enraged that "Don't you ever fucking do it. Don't you ever get your own cigarettes. I give you cigarettes." And it was just a way to have control.
If there was one thing you could say to if somebody was in the foster care system right now listening, what would you say to them?
Well, I hope it's good. There are a lot of good foster care situations. But just the fact of being separated from the people who are supposed to love and care for you can cause a person to feel some type of way. Yeah. And maybe feel a little bit less worthy or not good enough or undeserving. And I want to say to you that you're everything. You're everything. And you are a beautiful, perfect human being. Your life is a precious and priceless gift, and you are valuable, and you're capable of great things, and you have power. Even though you might not feel like you have power, you're going to get big. You're going to get big, and you're going to be on your own, and you're never going to have to be a kid again. And if you don't have a family that you love, you're going to find one, and you're going to create one, and you're going to have your own apartment. You're going to have your own space that's yours, that nobody else can come in if they don't want to. Yep. That is, the day you get your first apartment by yourself is going to be so awesome. Yep. So awesome. And you're going to have a good career, and you're going to make a family, and you're going to rise above, and you're going to become free of that poverty mindset. that they put on you. They put that on you. They were wrong. They're wrong to do that. There's abundance. You are capable of great things, and there are great things ahead for you, but you got to believe, and you got to do the work, and you got to do the right thing, because the system is set up for you to do the wrong thing. It's set up that way. So if you want to beat that system, you got to believe it. Sometimes you got to fight. Sometimes you got to run. You got to do whatever it takes to succeed and do the right thing. Be kind. And most importantly than being kind to anybody else, be kind to yourself. You are worthy of that kindness. You're worthy of love. And it's okay to feel lonely. It's okay to feel all the things that you feel. Those things are normal. There's nothing wrong with you. There was never anything inherently wrong with you. You're having normal reactions to circumstances that you shouldn't have had to be in. You know it's not fair. And life's not fair. But there's still a possibility for you. And I believe in you. And I'm proud of you, and I love you. Even though I don't know you, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Man, awesome. Hey, if you could go, Jesus Christ. Anyways, if you could have dinner with one person, anybody in history, it could be a relative, it could be anybody in history, Abe Lincoln, I don't care. You could have dinner with anybody in history, who would it be and why?
My biological dad.
Also, what's on the menu?
What you eating?
I would have dinner with my biological father,
Okay.
and we would have T-bone steaks,
Okay.
potatoes, and broccoli.
Okay.
Okay.
Why?
I never met my father. He was a great guy. My mom was traveling with some hippies in 1976, and she slept with this college professor and got pregnant, and then decided to go tell her boyfriend that it was his kid. So she told me that guy was my dad, and I thought this guy was my dad my whole life. And he died of alcoholism. And when I did DNA at 42 years old, my daughter wanted to know about my history because I ain't got no history. And she's like, Dad, let's do DNA. And his family popped up, and they started reaching out. They're like, hey, bro, we're really closely related.
Yeah.
I think your dad's one of my uncles.
Okay.
Me and you are first cousins. And then it took a little bit of investigating. I had to put my DNA from Ancestry into my heritage.
Okay.
And then I matched with a direct sister. So my dad was Alexander Sandy Taylor. He was a college professor, publisher, social activist.
Nice.
Now, he wasn't perfect. This dude wasn't perfect, but my two sisters and my brother grew up, went to college, had a relatively okay existence because he worked hard and he took care of them. Now, they said he would do stuff like go out for a bag of peas and not come back for 3 days and come back drunk with a soggy bag of peas in his pocket. Yeah. And he was going all around the world trying to smuggle revolutionary poetry out of Chile under Pinochet, getting a pistol with the other professors and guarding Dr. King when Dr. King came to town. Mm-hmm. And my kids said, you got my coffee? Thank you, baby. My beautiful daughter's here. Okay, get out of here. Okay. I'll get to you when it's done.
Man, that's incredible.
So he was an interesting dude, and he helped a guy named Luis Rodriguez publish the first ever gang memoir. He had a publishing house called Curbstone, and Curbstone's mission was to publish literature from Vietnamese and Latino authors who weren't getting picked up by big publishers at the time. And Luis Rodriguez wrote a gang memoir called Always Running that is still an international bestseller to this day. So he was the kind of guy that gave people a shot, and he cared about people. He cared about his cause. He was ultra liberal, ultra professor guy who taught English literature. And I'd like to ask him about his poetry, man. I got a book of one of his poems right here. This is what he looked like. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is one of his books. He wrote a bunch of books, and they're small because they're poetry books. But I pull this out every once in a while, and I haven't read it all yet, but I'll read something to you guys.
Please. Thank you.
Eyewitness. I saw the plaza covered with people's hair. The guard had cut off their hair with machetes, taking part of the skin with it. They arrived in Cayetana with 60 machine guns, tear gas, a cannon. When the farmers arrived running, the guards sprayed the square with machine gun fire. Rosa was able to reach her husband, grabbing him by the leg. Then the bullet hit him and she was covered in his blood. They did this, but we had done nothing to them, those they killed. They cut their faces in pieces, chopped their bodies with machetes. If you like, I'll show you where they buried the brains. That's dark. I didn't realize that one was going to be that dark. But this dude went into, now he didn't go in the military. My grandfathers on both sides did, and so did I. But he went and fought his war. And his war was that people who don't have a voice would have a voice. Mm-hmm. And I would love to talk to him about his adventures.
Yeah. Man.
He died in 2008. I didn't discover who he was until years later.
Well, that's
too bad.
My condolences. Man, clearly it's not enough time to get through your whole story, no matter how I try to cut it. But I did see that you were a veteran, so I'm not going to ask why you joined. Okay, well I should actually, because I shouldn't just assume. Why did you join, and did you deploy?
So I moved back in with my biological mother when I was 17 and a half.
Okay.
She had told me she'd been driving around my hometown looking for me, like driving the streets looking for me. And she said she never gave up on wanting to find me. There's a lot of good in my biological mother. I am unable to have contact with her today because it's too difficult for me to I do not allow chaos into my life. I do not allow people who say ugly things to me, and I listen to how I feel when I'm around people. And I love her as much as I can. And I wish her all the best. You know, I love you, Mom. I wish you the best. I want you to be happy. I'm sorry that I'm not healed enough to be able to be around you.
Yeah.
And when I moved back in with her, things seemed different, but they weren't. And then she told me I had to leave. Okay. And I was 3 hours away from people I was familiar with. I was living in Lake Los Angeles, California, which is, I guess you could call it a suburb, the outskirts of Palmdale, California, the desert of the desert. There was nowhere to go. And I didn't have a high school diploma yet. And I reached out to the different branches of the military, and the Navy would take me without a high school diploma. So I joined the Navy when I was 18 years old, and I got designated as a hospital corpsman, and I served at Balboa Hospital Command for 5 years.
Man.
And I got out, and I was going to art school. I've always wanted to be an artist.
Heck yeah.
And some bad things happened successively in a row, and oftentimes people who have experienced prolonged CPTSD, they don't necessarily mean to. They don't mean to, but much of what we're doing is done on autopilot. 95% is trained subconscious. So unknowingly, I was creating poverty, addiction, chaos, and violence. People around me were dying. I didn't understand why. I was cursed. And I decided that I just didn't want to live anymore. And the war in Iraq had just started. I decided to go back in and give my life as a hospital corpsman fighting with the Marines in Iraq. I thought that there would be an opportunity to do something great, that I could die being remembered as, so I could be a plaque on a wall with a medal. And for whatever reason, when I met the Marines of Lima Company 324, they rebuilt me from the ground up. These are Southern gentlemen who were all reservists. Many of them were police officers, firefighters, engineers, college students. And I relearned honor. I relearned integrity. I relearned brotherhood. I developed self-worth and a desire to overcome and a belief that I could, because that kind of stuff is contagious. The mentality that the United States Marines have, if you don't catch it, there's something wrong with you if you're around a bunch of Marines, because They are outstanding human beings. And the core values are trainable, tangible, teachable, and attainable. And I trained those core values into myself. And despite my best efforts, I did not die heroically. I didn't even get shot. But I was doing some art for the company, drawing pictures, and somebody had an idea that maybe I should do tattoos. And a Marine Corps rifle company is like the smallest town in the world, especially on a deployment. Everybody knows everything about every person. Everyone knows everyone's names. It's kind of the way we used to live in tribes before civilization. We had 200 or less people, but they're all dudes, so it's a little different. And it's a little bit violent and crazy. But within an hour of somebody having the idea, the rumor went around the company that Doc was going to tattoo. And then it went around again. How much is it going to cost? And by the third go around, the $4,000 was there to buy all the tattoo equipment. And the commanding officer had approved it and said, as long as no one outside of the company finds out and nobody gets an infection, you guys are good. And a month later, I did my first tattoo. And I've been tattooing consistently for the last 26 years. Is that right?
Awesome.
No, 22 years? I'm not good at math. I popped out from the Marines too. So I've been tattooing since July of 2004.
Okay, awesome.
I came home and I committed with honor to my trade, and I kept applying those core values to the best of my ability. I gained access to what I believe to be the best mental, spiritual healthcare in the world, because there are so many people that give their time and care and do for our veterans, that within a decade, I realized that I was becoming free and that I was happy, that I was content. I was able to find contentment. I started meditating, and I realized that I made it. I made it out of that cycle of poverty, addiction, chaos, and violence that many of my brothers and sisters didn't make it out of. I'm pretty old from my experience. I'm 49. I made it to 49. I never thought I would even make it to 40. And at that point, when I had that realization that, hey, my life is good. I made it. I survived. And not only that, I'm thriving. And my child is thriving. And now my children are thriving. I decided that it was time to share my experience with the world, because I'm ordinary. And there's nothing extraordinary about me. Therefore, there's nothing that the average person who's had those experiences can't attain. Now, I know everybody heals differently. I marked my steps through that mindfulness. So if somebody wants to copy my steps, they can. And that's how Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption, came to be.
Awesome. You put a lot of I'm sure your life into that book. You're very open. I've seen you on another podcast. You post a lot on the internet. What is one thing that you don't think a lot of people know about you that you'd be willing to share with us?
I really dig chick music.
Okay.
You say chick music?
Yeah.
Anybody
I like
specific?
Lord. I like Casey Musgraves. I like Christina Aguilera. I really dig music that's calm and a woman's voice singing. It's nice. That's what I'm rocking in my headphones on my bike, like on the freeway, because I like Poe. I like. I'm kind of having a brain fart right now. Tori Amos.
Okay.
I really dig that stuff, and I always.
Okay.
Heck yeah, man.
What?
I get down with it. Hell yeah.
What is your signature tattoo style?
I don't have one.
Just kind of whatever.
I'm a commercial artist. Now, tattooing, the industry, there has developed a lot of pressure to choose a style, and that is your style.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes a better tattoo artist. And maybe I'm not good enough for people who want that, and that's fine. But I will tattoo your grandma's Tinkerbell for her.
Mhm.
If I had a signature style, it would be covering brands left by human trafficking. Many years ago, I was working at the tattoo shop, at my shop down on University called St. Ilex Tattoo, and I was friends with the dude across the street at the Salvation Army thrift store. We were cool. We talked all the time, and I used to go in there and buy frames because you could paint your own art and just get a frame from there for cheaper. And somebody gave the Salvation Army thrift store a human skull, and they couldn't sell the human skull, so the guy comes over, he's like, "Hey man, you want the skull?" I was like, "Yeah, I want the skull." It was like a medical skull where they cut the thing out and stuff. And he came over one day and he goes, "Man, we have this young woman at the shelter, and this is just the most awful story I've heard so far in the shelter. I'm pretty broke up about it. When she was 14, these two people, she was out in some podunk place in the country, and there was an uncle. I don't know why it was relevant, but it was an uncle and a nephew that grabbed her up when she was 14 and assaulted her. And when they were done, taking away her innocence and her dignity, they tattooed their initials in her hip. And she spent the next 13 years struggling with poverty, addiction, chaos, violence, trafficking. What they took from her was it was an act of pure evil. And I said, "Man, you gotta bring this young lady in and let me cover that tattoo." And she came in. She was very, very meek. The tattoo was on her hip. I made the space safe for her, and she had a friend with her who kicked everyone else out of the shop. And I asked her what she wanted. She said she didn't care as long as it was gone. So I said, "Well, how about a heart with angel wings?" And I covered that ugly, fucked up tattoo for free with a heart with angel wings. And I didn't even really think about it at the time. And then I shared about it later. Somebody had asked me on TikTok what my favorite tattoo was, and that was the one. And since I shared that story, I've done many similar tattoos where I've been able to be a small part of somebody getting back ownership of their body and transforming something that made them feel ugly or made them feel like a piece of property into something that gave them power. And if I have a style, that's it. And someday I will have a nonprofit that allows me to do as many of those as I want to. Right now, that's not where we're at. I just had a little baby boy, just a little tiny shop.
Congrats.
And I'm working on, developing my craft as a speaker, making connections. I just flew to Huntsville, Alabama to speak to a group of investigators that investigate child trafficking, and I got to give them my perspective that maybe don't expect these kids to think you're rescuing them or even be friendly to you or even tell you the truth. And maybe they're not going to be grateful then, but we're grateful now.
Yeah.
And I know that you can't help everybody, but if you could help one kid in your career, because all it would have taken from me is one person, one investigator to read my whole file, and my life would be different. And maybe, maybe these kids think that they love their trafficker like I did. Maybe they think that that's their family, and maybe they feel loyal to them. So maybe this is going to help you understand the community a little bit better and be more effective at your job and save some kids. So that's the stuff I'm working on right now. And as I build my platform, it's slow going, you guys. I'm not a good influencer, and it's been very slow and hard to develop this project. I intend to put Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption, into 10 million pairs of hands in my lifetime. So far, it's been in less than 10,000 pairs of hands.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this with you. I'm not doing this with a big company, a sponsor, and this part of my life is because of love.
Yeah.
I love tattooing, but that's how I feed my family.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I'm a true believer, and I believe that my story will help others, and I believe that my healing will help others. Unfortunately, people are much more compelled by the dark shit.
They are.
We love the nitty-gritty horror stories. We love the true crime. It's just human nature, and it's okay that we are fascinated with evil. But if I could get them enough fascinated with the evil that happened to me, maybe they'll hear some of the healing too.
Yes. That is really
not easy.
That's what we're trying to accomplish, and that's what I really wanted to have you on. That's why I tried to, not minimalize it, because it's a huge part of your story, and I know that needs to be heard for people to hear you and to listen to the message. But that's why we try to focus on a little bit of what happened, and then how you got to where you're at now, because all of that, and then the story you have now. I mean, it's incredible to begin with, being a father, owning your own tattoo place or a little tattoo shop, and be able to help people. That's a success. That's a success story in itself. And now you're adding your childhood on top of it. It's a fucking success story. So,
I'm just getting started, brother. My life and my success is not compelling enough for Hollywood or I don't know, even Instagram or whatever, right? Like because there's not like $1 billion or like a big politician thing or like a sports thing or something that would typically grab onto the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is classed, me and you, what we're doing right now is classed into the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a difficult, weird place to navigate.
Yeah, it is.
But I believe that the most committed wins. And I'm a true believer. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah. I believe in when I set a goal, I will get there or I will die on my way there.
Yep.
I am stubborn. Yep. Stubborn. Yep. People would say strong-willed. Whatever the obstacle, I will defeat it. And the cool thing is that I'm a regular guy, so other regular people can relate and can jump on board.
Yep.
And many of us have been waiting for somebody to save us or show us or whatever. And we are the ones we have been waiting for.
Yep, exactly. Man, I seen one of your posts again. Like I said, what type of motorcycle do you own?
I have two.
Okay.
I have my first Harley Davidson. Her name is Lucy. She is a 2007 Harley Davidson Dyna Street Bob that has been heavily modified, and she's getting rebuilt right now because I finally rode her into the ground. I was on my way up to Reading, and it was like raining and dark, and I broke down like in the middle of the Grapevine, which is like the wasteland, and I managed to push it a couple miles to the gas station. So she's still getting a slow rebuild because of the new baby. And then I've got Sadie, who's a 2017 Harley Davidson Lowrider S. Which is the last year that, if you're into Harleys, into twin cams, it's the last year they made Dynas, and it's the last year they made the twin cam, and it came stock with a 110cc engine, and that's big for that twin. That thing rocks, man. Yeah. I love that bike. So I bought that motorcycle an hour before I found out that Kristen was pregnant with my son. I finalized it, so I'm lucky because I probably wouldn't have bought it. I knew we were having a baby. But it's working out. Things are okay.
Awesome. Well, and I know a lot of your message is, man. Well, I won't speak for you, but I see what you're doing, and I love it. You got a family, man. How long have you been married, dating, and how many kids do you have?
I've been with Kristen for 20 years.
Damn! Congrats, man. We're at 6. We're at 6.
Oh, awesome. Yes. We had a little breakup in 2015. I needed to adjust the way I dealt with my relationships, and I needed to readdress what integrity really meant. I was unfaithful. I was controlling. I was narcissistic. I was a chaos creator and narcissistic, controlling person, even though I loved her. These were talked about, and I'm not shucking responsibility. I'm responsible for my life because responsible equals power, right? If I'm responsible, I can change it.
Yep.
She threw me out in 2015, and I spent 2 years apart from her, and then I went through some stuff. I had a rebound relationship, and I just decided that I was going to adjust myself and the way I interacted with the feminine, the way I interacted with other people, and continue to improve that so that I can be a benefit to other people instead of a liability. And I went through a ceremony where I burned the cheater in the fire and the ceremony for the dead. I've been faithful since.
Awesome.
And I decided that if it wasn't Kristen, that I was just okay alone because I'd already had a kid and she was my person. And if it wasn't her, I'm cool. And I was cool by myself. It was great. I started having a good time. I got over the heartbreak. I don't do rejection very well. It takes me a minute. I'm pretty sensitive. But then we drifted back together.
Awesome.
And we got back together in 2017. We found out she was pregnant on the 11th of September of last year.
Okay.
And then we got married on Halloween.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. Man. We
Yeah, I tried the Halloween wedding thing. It wasn't gonna
Man,
fly.
we,
We got married the day before
yeah.
my birthday.
There's a child in here. What are you doing? Go ahead, honey. Get a big cup. They're over there. Don't trip on the cords. That's my daughter.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet
She's
you.
famous.
Yeah.
Her
Well, hey, it
social
takes
media.
some
Hold
really-
on. Her social media is Gracie Lang Raw. She
Okay.
is a raw vegan influencer, and she's an author, and she's very successful. She's got like 1 million followers,
Nice.
and teaches people how to cook. Well, not even cook; it's uncooked raw food. How to create beautiful raw food that's healthy, and she's
Nice.
just a really, she's a little bit of a vegan activist, and that's cool. We don't share that, but I support her 100%. And she's just the most beautiful. Look, come here. That's my Gracie.
Hey,
Hi.
thanks for bragging about me.
That's funny. Man. Takes a big man to admit that is all I was gonna say, Forrest. That's incredible to admit wrong and fix it. And not just say I have the right to feel this or to feel or to act like I have the right to feel this way. I mean, I don't have the right to act this way.
Yes, your
So,
feelings are
yeah.
valid, but your behavior is not.
You know, so big
And
man.
I think that's a way to measure. That's a way to measure evil, man.
Mhm.
Evil comes from the ego. Animals are not evil. Nature is not evil, although they sometimes cause destruction. But if I'm operating from the ego, it's because I'm afraid I'm not going to get something that I want, or I'm going to lose something that I have.
Yep.
And not being able to just observe and not respond to the ego is where evil comes from. And I feel so grateful that I've been able to become less evil.
Yes, sir. What advice would you give to adult trauma? What advice to get over it?
I don't give advice, man. I don't. I would ask them questions,
Yes, sir. Okay.
and I would, say, have you tried getting sober? Are you using still? I believe that connection is the antidote to addiction, and sobriety is ground zero for spiritual development for the addict alcoholic. I don't think that the other stuff works without that, and I would say, it's not your fault. None of this is your fault, right? But how do you want to live? What do you want your life to look like, and what are you willing to do to get there? And are you willing to practice meditation? Are you willing to be still for 20 minutes and not respond to things? Some people will say, well, I can't meditate. And I know that you can. You can. And it sounds like non-trauma informed to go, shut the fuck up and sit the fuck still for 20 fucking minutes. You can. You absolutely can.
Yes, sir.
And I can't is a made-up story. And people will be angry with me about that. Oh, well, that's the way I operate. If you don't like it, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
How free do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like?
Yes, sir.
And how willing are you? People will say, I tried therapy, it didn't work. You went one time.
Yeah.
To one therapist.
Yeah.
I've been thousands of times to tens of therapists. I tried AA, it didn't work. No, you didn't do it. You went to an AA meeting and left.
Yeah.
You didn't do 90 meetings in 90 days. And
Didn't do the 12 steps. Exactly. Yep.
You know, there is not, people want so badly for there to be a magic thing that you do.
Yeah.
Go up and give your heart to Jesus and everything's going to be okay and you don't have to do any more work anymore. It doesn't work like that.
No.
There's no magic.
No.
It takes work. If you want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you got to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And you got to work it out and you got to learn and you got to be humble and you got to exercise that prefrontal cortex and fail. You have to fail. And it's the same thing with therapy. It's the same thing with meditation. It's the same thing with personal development. You got to fail. You got to be willing to do it over and over and over and over again and humble yourself because the ego is so huge. The ego is, you don't know what the fuck I've been through. You have no idea that'll never work for me. Who the fuck are you to tell me I need to do something? You have no idea. I'm fine. Right? That's the ego. So you got to be willing to go, oh, look, there's my ego trying to destroy me again.
Man, before we, sorry, go ahead.
How do you currently practice self-care?
Eat every day. Make sure I eat the food.
Yeah.
Sleep. I require 8 hours of sleep to be okay.
Yeah.
7, maybe. Not 6.
Yeah.
Exercise. I require exercise. I row in the gym and do lightweight training. Hygiene. I get to have a shower every day. I get to get foot powder if I have athlete's foot. I get to shave every other day. I get to go to the doctor if I'm sick. I get to take care of my body. And hobbies. I get to have a hobby. It's 5 things. Eat, sleep, medical care, hygiene, exercise, and hobbies. Those are the pillars of self-care. And you're welcome. I spent 2 years in a therapist's chair learning that. So there it is for you. And then the 5 pillars of servant leadership. Service. I'm of service to something bigger than me who does some kind of good work. Study and consistently reading or listening to or absorbing ideas that didn't originate in my own mind that are spiritual in nature. Contribution. I'm regularly giving a portion of what I have to someone who does work that I support. That doesn't mean giving change to the addict out on the sidewalk. That's fine if you can do that, but that's not contribution. Contribution is giving something to someone who does work you support. Affirmation. Affirmation is this act of saying out loud what I want to happen.
Yep.
People could call it prayer, right? So what I say out loud has a huge impact on what my autopilot does. So if I go, man, everything happens to me. It's going to be a terrible day. This sucks. I'm tired. I'm bored. If I say those things out loud and declare them, I'm absolutely creating that. I don't wait anymore. I learned how to not wait. You could ruin someone's day by telling them that they're waiting. They're waiting in traffic. No, I'm not. I don't need to respond to that stuff. Because my central nervous system can get a little crazy and I can have some way out reactions to those things. So I got service, study, contribution, affirmation, and there's one more. I always forget the 5 pillar.
Is it education?
No. Service, study, contribution, affirmation. You're going to have to look it up. I'm having a brain fart.
Well, Forrest, getting close to the end here. One thing I did notice, you kept saying, I get to, and I really, it just speaks to your character, I think, and that was really cool to hear.
That's trainable. It's trainable. I used to say I have to, and I learned to say that I get to. In personal development courses, I think I paid like $5,000 for that one.
Man,
The way we present our words to ourselves and to those around us matters. And it can change a person's life for the better or worse.
Yeah, no, I'm currently working on, instead of saying should, you say I choose to.
Yes.
So if I should do this, it's I choose to do this.
I remember the other pillar. My brain fart went away. Acknowledgement.
Okay.
So acknowledgement means acknowledging to either myself or others what and who is in my life and what I appreciate about them regularly. And that breaks the matrix. Because I'm able to really acknowledge my daughter lovingly brought me coffee with 3 creams and 3 sugars and feel gratitude that she was doing. The simple things, it's not the big things, it's the things that are happening right now.
Yeah.
And meditation is the way there. Those things will just happen naturally when you start to meditate. Meditation is a superpower.
Yeah, it is. Man. Awesome. So our wrap-up questions are all the same. A, thank you for coming on. B, thank you for your service. Point blank, period. And C, I really wish we could have got more into an episode. It's just an hour and a half. I feel like it's the right time. Maybe in the future, hopefully our paths can cross again and we can do a part 2. But our wrap-up questions are all the same between every guest. That's how we keep a nucleus of, like, no matter who we interview, from cop to criminal to lawyer to judge to you to me to her, all the wrap-up questions have been the same. It's how we keep a common theme. Is there anything I didn't ask that I should have? Is there anything I missed? This is the time to say, maybe plug yourself in, just whatever.
You can find me on Instagram at Forrest Lang Official. You can find me on Facebook as angelbluebook. And you can find me on TikTok as Forrest Lang. You can also find me at angelbluebook.com if you want to have a communication with me about a speaking event or a question. I don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to DMs on social media. I do read them, but I'm less likely to respond. Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption, is available signed copies from my website, angelbluebook.com. I sign every single copy that goes out.
Okay.
If you're outside of the US or you want it faster, it's available on Amazon or anywhere you get audiobooks. And I choose not to leave anybody behind. So if somebody wants to read my story and they don't have the $20 to get it, you can send me an email at my website send me your correct email address and go, hey, Forrest, I want to read your book. Please send me a digital copy. You don't need to explain nothing or whatever. I'll email you a digital copy of Angel Blue, and you can share it with whoever you want, because I don't want there to be any barrier between what I want to give to the world and if somebody wants to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
I am just still enthralled. I love everybody's story. Like, I genuinely care. Like, I love people's stories, man. And it's just, I know this is every story helps. Some stories hit a little closer and a little harder for some people. I just feel like this one's really it's really gonna take the cake. So seriously, thank you again. My last wrap-up question is pretty simple. What is your well, maybe not simple, but what is your definition of success?
To be out of poverty, have your needs met, and to do something that you love.
Mm-hmm.
I lied. I have a second wrap-up question. What does legacy mean to you?
I don't know very many people who know their great-grandfather's name. You know your great-grandfather's name?
I
don't.
do.
You do?
It's Haskell Lamont. My little brother is named Levi after him. I learned because he built the house that my grandparents lived in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much more about him other than that he immigrated here and he built this house before any other house in the area was there. And I do know his name.
I don't know nothing about my great-grandpa.
So he was probably a wonderful human who did a lot of great things. The truth is, most of us are not going to be remembered. But the things that we do in this lifetime will carry on.
Yes, sir.
So that's my definition of legacy. Did I change the world for the better? And I have a suspicion that at the end of this life, the possibility I might be sitting there watching play by play. It's rooting for myself. Do the right thing, even though nobody was looking. Do the right thing, and that's what I want. I want 5-year-old proud of me, and I want deathbed me proud of me.
Yes.
And I'm not really worried about some long statue or something like whatever. Humans come and go.
Okay.
Awesome, man. Katie?
If you had one word to describe your entire journey from where you started to where you will inevitably end up, what would the one word be? It has to be a real word, and it can't be like hyphenated or anything like that.
Grace.
Okay.
Just my daughter's name.
Yeah, beautiful.
If you now met younger you, do you think you would personally get along with him, and then vice versa? Would he personally get along with you now?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've met younger me many times. I've met him hundreds of times.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
That is. I want to end on a happy thing here, and because I forgot to ask this question too, and it's become a staple. A guy I've been working for said, "Hey man, don't forget to ask this question. If you had to be eaten alive by an animal, what animal would you choose?"
A whale.
Me too.
Okay, smart. Okay.
Because he survived.
Get out.
Oh man.
And also, what am I going to be doing in the ocean for a whale to just eat?
Yeah.
I mean, you can still climb out the blowhole, right?
That's what I said.
Man. Forrest, seriously, this has been great. If you ever find yourself up in Michigan, we have an extra room. We'd love to meet you. I'd love to stay in contact. I mean, seriously.
Absolutely, man. We're friends now. We're on the same team.
Yes, sir. Hey, you have a wonderful night, and
hey, if I can ever do anything to support you guys' journey too, feel free to reach out. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No, I sincerely, I do appreciate it, man. What you're doing just co-aligned with what we are accomplishing.
What you are doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, what we are accomplishing.
Not trying anything.
It was great. Have a great night, my friend.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
yes,
again.
sir. That was great.